running till about 2 o'clock. It's an amazing package, a bumper package. We are continuing our tradition of expanding the scope of the FM industry by bringing a lot more people in to learn FM basics, get some particular skills and competencies to be able to start from where you are, while we prepare you for the profession through the facility management diploma. And for so many of you who have been trying to get into the FM diploma but haven't been able to afford it, don't miss tomorrow's and Friday sessions, because you're going to have a great, more of a bonanza. We have 3 streams of promos that you're going to be getting in tomorrow and Saturday's session that you can't miss. I would ask that the admin team on this launch our platform should please put out the link for registering for the free training. The website is actually freetraining.max-migold.com, freetraining.max-migold.com. So they'll drop the link there. I encourage all of you, as you're watching and listening at this time, to click there if you've not registered for it yet, because you need to be registered for it. You also need to be in the session tomorrow and fill an online form while the session is ongoing to confirm that you attended. And then you will also need to complete an assessment that show that you listen and you understand what we are teaching, for you to be able to get the certificate that comes with it. Completely free, absolutely no charge at all, okay? But like we always say in Max-Migold, we give out free certificates. It doesn't mean that you will not earn them. They are free of all cash involvement, but you will earn them, because wherever we have our certificates, whoever holds a Max-Migold facility management training certificate knows what that certificate value is and can demonstrate the learning that the certificate certifies that he has acquired. Okay, so that's why we always do that. So a simple quiz of a few questions, and then you get a certificate that you can brandish in your CVs and so on. Okay, so look forward to that, and look forward to the bonanzas that we're going to be rolling out tomorrow and Saturday. It's going to be exciting, I can assure you of that. On the 16th of December at the Faculty of Social Sciences New Theatre, University of Lagos main campus here in Yaba, we are having the 2023 graduation ceremony. Over 100 of our graduates will be celebrating taking their certificates and assuming that position of a credentialed facility manager on that day. And we invite everybody to come celebrate with them. If you have an interest in facility management, if you always wanted to network and interact with the core of facility management in Nigeria, the entire alumni is going to be there. Talking about almost 1,000 people from over the last 6 years who have gone to the FM diploma, who have been qualified. You'll have the critical mass of the FM profession in Nigeria at the FSS Theatre on Saturday, the 16th of December. So if you want to come in there, please, you are by all means allowed to register. We'll be sending you the invitation to that event once you've indicated interest, so you can participate in such an illustrious event. Okay, so today we're going to have this concluding part of the one we started, creative problem solving, and just a quick recap of what we covered last week. We looked at what the problem was. How do you know you have a problem that you want to deal with? And then we talked about the processes, questions, that you must ask. We talk about how to define the problem statement. If you don't know how to define the problem statement, you really can't begin to solve it. You have to be able to identify, outline what the issues are, at least to a large extent. Because if you are able to identify the issues, one would say you're halfway there. Okay. And then we talked about how to gather information so that you can know whether you're factual or whether you're allowing your sentiment and your emotions to run through the information you are trying to process. What's different between an opinion, an opinionated fact, what's different between a concept, an assumption, a procedure, a process, and a principle. We spent some time on that last week when we're talking about what questions to ask, what, when, how, which, why. For some of those questions, we say you must find a way to identify in your quest for the right information that can lead you to solving the problem you're trying to solve. And then we also looked at the different types of ways to gather the information: interviews, surveys, questionnaires, observation. You need to be able to say, this is how I gathered my information. This is how I, got to what facts I'm using to reach a certain conclusion. We talked about gap analysis. For you to define a problem, you must know what the ideal situation should be. Sometimes people just start from a problem, right? When there is none. Okay. If you really, want to show that you've identified or spotted the problem that needs to be solved, then you must know where the ideal situation should be and know exactly where you are, which is the gap analysis. If you don't already know that, you really can't establish what the problem is. Okay. So we talked about how to analyze the issues, talking about assumptions, talking about how to challenge certain emotions and sentiments, certain stereotypes that affect our reasoning and our biases. We talked a lot about that, and it's important that you know when it is you that is being the problem, right? Sometimes it's the hardest part. We don't really know when we are being the problem. Okay. And then try to situate the problem, who is affected, what is affected, whatever categories. You can create different categories to break down that understanding in a bit to situate the problem. So we ended with how to manage mental blocks, because this is the hardest thing. Most people have problems. They really don't know how to get past a certain point. They are stuck. They have reached a conclusion too early about what they think the problem is without doing any kind of analysis. And so they suffer from mental block. In fact, at that point, it becomes almost impossible to influence them, to get them to change their mind, to get them to understand, something different from what they have assumed and become fixated about. So whether it's a career choice, whether it's a personal life choice, whether it's an academic or choice, whether it's a problem with a job that you need to deliver, whatever it is, you can get out of it if you can identify what the real blocks are. What are the things that prevent you from going past a certain point where you're stuck? And the first one is your emotions. All right. Let me just pop my slide up so that you can all follow. I hope you're seeing my screen. Okay. So the first mental block is emotions. All right. Emotional blocks, anything that starts usually with fear, fear of risk. Uh, Sometimes we judge situations, approaching it with certain personal feelings that may not have anything to do with the situation. Okay. Another mental block that we need to deal with is distractions. Sometimes in our quest to gather information about a problem or an issue, we may see information jumping at us from all angles. Many people are very good at advising. Even before you ask for advice, they've already rolled out series and series of advice that they will not keep for themselves. And one of the things I've learned in life is that advice is very cheap, and people have it in abundance, and they're always willing to dish it out. Okay, sometimes if you get advice from the wrong persons, you probably are just getting distracted. You're being, not able to face exactly what the issues are. You're not having a productive path to resolution. So watch out for distractions. And sometimes distractions can come from our environment, can come from our devices. Some people create distractions deliberately to take them out of the present. There's a problem. How can I get around this problem? Let me just, get high on alcohol or something. Go and watch a movie for 3 days and see if by the time I come back to reality, the problem is already resolved. Uh, you know, you should watch what kind of distractions, whether it comes on you or whether you self-impose it when you're, moving towards understanding what your mental blocks are. And then, of course, assumptions. We talked about what we assume. Biases can affect our assumptions. Stereotypes can affect our assumptions. Different types of background or foundational programming that we have been built with as we're growing up. Okay, so it's really not so much about where you are from or what kind of genes you have. Assumptions can be influenced highly by the kind of programming that comes from our backgrounds, kind of family you grew up in, the kind of friends you kept, the kind of experiences you had, whatever it is can affect what is now you, right? And that you now is because you have certain beliefs. Those beliefs form a basis for your decision making and affect how you reason and think about things. One of those other aspects is the culture. We all, build certain culture. We accept certain cultures. We accept certain things as norms of society, of family, of religion. Sometimes these cultural beliefs can begin to pose mental blocks. It can become the problem why we are not seeing clearly. When somebody is trying to make you see things from another point of view, another perspective, why you often resist because you've already, had that acculturization. And then there's also the mental block of communication difficulties. Okay, when we say communication, we are talking about thoughts moving from one person to another person to cause action in that person, right? So if I want to communicate, it means I have something I formed in my head. There's something I expect you to do from the communication, right? Until you do it, my communication has not really, gone through. So usually, if you are not, if you don't have the presence of mind to be able to communicate clearly and lucidly so that people can understand what you are trying to communicate, you might end up using those communication to create what I might call a miscommunication, which could be an under communication or an over communication. We can give people information that they don't really need, and that can become a problem. You can give somebody information that is too little, that the person is not able to act on exactly what you expect him or her to do. Okay, so that can be a problem. Okay, so the next one. So how do you remove them? How do you remove these mental blocks? What do you do when you find out? Of course, finding out that you have a mental block is the hardest part. Okay, so removing them will be easy the moment you agree that you're having a mental block. Okay, so you start by thinking about adjusting your attitude. If you're a positive-minded person, or you try to become positive. So if you look at those mental blocks we just looked at now, most of them are linked to negative mindsets. Okay, so just having that, let me try and be positive for once, for example, can help you just break the walls of mental blocks that can, come to stop you from thinking out of the box, from being able to embrace solutions that will help you get out of the jam you're in. Okay, encourage creativity. What's it gonna hurt? To try something new. Okay. Look at the emotional blocks. Ask yourself, am I afraid? Am I being attached? Am I expressing certain filial emotions like friendship or family? Is it affecting, is it clouding my judgments? Okay. And is it also possible to observe yourself? Okay. Using imagination and feelings, you could actually observe yourself. You could go into deep thoughts. You could come out of yourself and look at yourself in the situation. When something is getting heated, for example, the emotions can be so high. Being able to stop at some point and say, let me observe myself. Let me see how I'm acting in this situation. You might even laugh at yourself, at some point. Okay, we'll talk about breaking the rules. This is how you can overcome the cultural biases that hold us down. So try to ensure that you can look at the rules you're observing, see which ones are really not helping this particular situation. Because at the end of the day, we're not trying to say change who you are. We're trying to say if you get into a trouble, you're trying to solve a problem, and you want to solve it creatively, don't allow who you are stop you from being able to solve your problems. Okay, so that's why you need to deal with the mental block issue. All right, so let's deal with the part where you need to stimulate creativity. You need to change your perspective. To go outside, you need to experience out of your primary environment. This can be, can be a lot for some people. Change is not really something people naturally want to go for. Okay, so just simply stopping, breaking off, and taking a walk, for example, taking time to breathe. Sometimes breathing may seem like an obvious thing. We all do it without thinking, right? But if you really want to breathe and say, I want to breathe for 100 times, you will almost find it impossible to count your breath in, breathe out 100 times, because your mind is always busy doing something, and you will lose count before you even know it. But breathing deeply not only feeds more oxygen into the brain and induces a feeling of calmness from that enrichment of the blood, but it also helps to relax the mind. So consciously breathing every now and then, just tell yourself, I need to breathe, and when people say, oh, just breathe. Sounds like, just a normal way of encouraging somebody who is in distress. But literally, breathing saves lives. It helps you calm down, helps you feel enlivened. And then meditate. Meditation can be any kind of focus. People focus on a picture frame. People focus on certain words, recitation. People focus, on some tunes, music. It helps to take you away. Okay, so whatever method, whatever approach you apply to meditation, it takes you away, but it brings you back refreshed, reinvigorated, because you can now think clearer. Okay, you mature. The way you think today will be very different from the state of mind and the way you think or thought yesterday. But being able to observe that growth and maturity process actually helps to speed it up. Okay, so that's where journaling comes in. Being able to, go back to what you have written to say. So this is what I thought. How childish, for example. Oh no, that's really funny. I wouldn't have believed, I was thinking, like that, because you are now looking back to it, with the power of hindsight. You now see clearly that, oh, I would have made a mistake. Or sometimes it's on the positive side. I was a genius. I couldn't have done that better. The way I've handled that situation last year. Okay. But because you noted it down, you got a sense of that record, and you could say, yes, I was able to get through the problem easily. All right, so let's get into solutions. Plan to generate as many solutions as possible before analyzing the solutions or trying to implement them. Or you say, this is the one I want to go for. You need to work on a few. Okay, so that's what we'll talk about brainstorming. What are the approaches for gathering as much information as possible? All right. When you are starting to gather information that will help solve a problem, you don't necessarily need to be filtering them out. You need to just throw everything in. Foolish ideas, fantastic ideas, genius ideas. Drop everything in there. You're not making a decision yet. Even some really wild ideas, can still come in. You're not boxing yourself in. That's the whole idea of brainstorming. Okay? You want to be free to think loosely, right? And if you are doing this with a group, just do the same thing. No restrictions, no inhibitions. Whatever comes to your mind, pop it out. Okay, and you note all of this down before you start thinking about what exactly you want to work with, or which one you want to go. So similar to brainstorming, there's also brainwriting. This one is more like you are not actively writing or talking, but you are creating the options in your mind in absolute silence. Okay. So when the ideas finally come out, it's more refined, compared to brainstorming, because you had reasoned through the issues, thought about it without any influence from anybody, and then you write a list. Mind mapping, on the other hand, it starts from one idea, and then you create linkages to other ideas, right? So this one is just like the brainstorming, just that it's not showing all ideas in, right? You are working from a central core, and you are listing ideas, like dandelions out of the main ideas. So you're looking at different things: pros, cons, risk, advantage, whatever you want to use to do your analysis. And then for those who are very good with visualizations, from that mapping approach we just talked about, you can have different types of maps and diagrams, basically visualization. It just helps to put your thoughts in diagrams, creates a flow of thinking. It builds logic around it and puts a lot of thoughts before you, instead of having it in your brain, missing certain connections, using diagrams like the Donkey diagram is basically just a way of writing out, options, try to link them up and connect them and see how they interact. Play around with diagrams. When you're thinking, try to just create boxes and circles and put things into them and see how they come together, because that's basically what those diagrams do. Then you have the morphology matrix. You're creating a matrix of two subjects, you're trying to connect 2 points and putting your thoughts on how the 2 items or subjects relate with each other. This was a method created by Fritz Vicky, a psychologist. Basically, just another analytical tool you can use. You can research this further and see how you can adopt it, especially when you're working in a team and trying to deal with an issue, come up with a strategic idea, or solve a problem. So you put different ideas in columns, and then you put other ideas in rows, and then you create intersections like storyboarding the relationship between the columns and the rows. It's just another way of visualizing the issues. Some of us would have heard about the thinking hats as well. It's another way of visualizing issues, bringing it out so that you'll be able to give meaning to issues. This one came from Edward Diploma, talked about how to assign color codes, which he called hats, to a structured thinking approach. So what is a white hat? If an idea is seen as a fact or information, you say that's a white hat idea, right? If it's a positive judgment, you say that's a yellow hat idea. There's a black hat idea, critical judgment, when you're criticizing or trying to attack. The blue hats, the big picture, zooming in to see the wider effect of an action or a thought. The green hat is the one that brings about alternatives and learning. If this is an idea, what other ideas can we relate with it? And then you have the red hat. Red hat is the one that comes on the soft side, your feelings, your emotions, how they affect the way you are thinking and the things you do. So this one helps to basically categorize your brainstorming ideas. So if I'm putting a lot of ideas in there, I want to group them so that I don't see all the ideas in equal sense. I can use the 6 thinking hats approach to categorize them so that I know the ones that are sentimental for me to treat as such when I'm taking a decision. The blink method, this is from Malcolm Gladwell. So in the blink method, it says not all ideas are not equal, all ideas are not the same. You look at subjects. If you look at subjects alike, you might end up with choices that are not the best, right? So you're slicing through information. Coming to a conclusion with limited information can be dangerous. Okay, so you limit or restrict how much information that hits you. You control the information you want by being specific on which information you are going to absorb or take in your analysis. Okay, if you don't control this, what you might end up with is one of those mental blocks we talked about before, which is distraction. That can become an issue. affecting your decision making on the matter. All right, with many different solutions in hand, as a problem solver, you want to analyze the solutions to determine the effectiveness of each one, right? So we're going to look at how to analyze various solutions. The first one is to develop a criteria. So if you have options and you want to evaluate the options, you want to have a means, a system, a structured approach to giving scores, a means, a system, a structured approach to giving scores to each of the options, so that you don't see them as the same. It's not 1 point versus 1 point. No, some 1 points have a higher weight than another. Okay, so but to define this, you have to first of all create a criteria, like a list of features with which you are going to evaluate every idea that you're going to be processing in the analysis. Okay. So you ask questions, such as, wouldn't it be nice, or wouldn't it be terrible? So, for this idea, just those counter questions that will help you think about what values should be considered. For timing, ask yourself, is this problem urgent? If the problem is urgent, what would be the consequences of delaying action? Because sometimes when I'm trying to solve a problem, I want to know if it's a problem that can be solved later. If it's a problem that cannot be solved later, the approach will definitely be different, isn't it? And then think about if the problem is a developing problem, is the problem already mature, or is it still evolving? Because if it is still evolving, then I might also, need to think about, the kind of solutions I'm going to bring, whether to delay it and allow it to fully mature before I understand what the problem really is. That could be another consideration. And then I need to think about the impact. Is it a serious problem? There are some problems that, you can ignore. Sometimes you see yourself trying to solve a problem, only to realize that you have a bigger problem that you have ignored, right? So if you ask yourself this question often, you will be able to develop a proper criteria for even selecting the kind of problems that you respond to, okay? And one problem that we have, one issue we have as humans, is that we are unable to analyze certain concepts like wants and needs. What is a want? What is a need? Right? It sounds like, oh, they are the same thing. What I want is what I need. No, needs are items that if you solve them or get better solutions to them, they are compulsory requirements, for sustenance of life, for support of the system, for community life. I can't ignore needs, right? Whereas wants are nice to have. You could make a big mountain out of a molehill by trying to solve a problem, investing so much into it, without realizing that you have not reasoned clearly about what that problem is or what that opportunity you're trying to take advantage of. Because it's just a want. You could do without it. Most forums you can do without it. But in the bid to acquire it or to solve it or to deal with it, you might end up misappropriating your priorities, and that can be a big problem, for us. Think about cost-benefit analysis. The options look good, but what exactly am I going to put into each option, and what am I going to get out of each option? Okay, so sometimes we throw in a solution to a problem that ends up becoming a problem in itself because the solution is more expensive, bigger, heavier than the problem we try to solve. Okay, so cost-benefit analysis is a way to consider exactly what you are getting into. Because sometimes you could just easily be overwhelmed by the problem because you even fail to dissect and understand the problem itself, that you are willing to do whatever it takes. And I always say there's nothing in life that needs whatever it takes. Nothing that needs whatever it takes. So if you find yourself in situations where whatever it takes, it's kind of thinking you are getting at that point, then ask yourself again if you've done a proper problem analysis. Because if you've not, that's when you think, I could throw my life into it, or I could throw anybody under the bus for it, or I could do something, negative or even illegal to get it or to solve it. No. Now, think about simple things like missing deadlines at work, simple things like failing an exam, or because you didn't prepare or something. You may think the world is going to end, but if you carefully analyze that situation and you realize that what, I'll have another chance to fight again if I can live on, so I don't need to throw everything in and risk it all to solve this problem. So that's basically what we are saying here. You need to risk it all to solve this problem. So that's basically what we are saying here. You need to analyze the cost. Don't jump in at a solution because it seems obvious. Sometimes it's just because you can afford it, not because you have what it takes at that moment. That can even lead you to being jumpy about how you jump into the situation and try to solve it. Let's be very conscious of how that affects us. And then you also have other analysis like the pair comparison analysis, where you try to create prioritization of the solutions. You list all the possible solutions. You label each potential solution with a letter or number. You compare the solutions in pairs. Decide between those two which solution is preferable. Assign a number to indicate the strength of the preference for each solution, and then you begin to narrow it down because you're pairing off and dropping some. It's also one other solution analysis you can use to take a decision. It's worth exploring further. Okay, analyzing potential problems. You need to think forward, be proactive. Don't just consider only what you are seeing around. Ask yourself what will be the implications over time, what will be the implication, what will be the impact on other people, on the environment, on the organization, on the family, and so on and so forth. We talked a lot about brainstorming. Brainstorming really is not something you can do on your own. You need to get a few people together to pop up ideas, see how you can narrow down using the analysis we've been talking about. And then you need to evaluate and then think about not being too rigid. If you can deal with your mental blocks, handle your biases and stereotypes, you become free enough, you become flexible enough to consider all options, and that really gives you liberation because it helps you see that you don't necessarily need to throw everything in. And then, once you've agreed on the line of action, the course of action, this is okay. Yes, we've done all the problem analysis. We know what the issues are. We've looked at all the options. We've done all the analysis of the various options, and we've narrowed it down pretty much to this solution. We should now go with this solution, right? So what do? You now begin to put what I would call more like a project management plan, right? You identify what task needs to be done, you sequence the task, you assign the task, you apply the resources, and so you prioritize and categorize the task just to ensure that you are doing the right activities that should lead you to the right solution that you are seeking. Okay, sometimes you know what you want to achieve, but you have built in the wrong kind of task, right? So when you have the wrong kind of task in place, you might be heading in different directions. You may not be sure of where you are actually going to arrive at. So I know where I'm going because I know what the problem was. I've done all that analysis before. I've looked at all the options, which is different roads that will take me there, and I've chosen this one as the route I'll take to get there. Then what steps do I need to take? Because if I take a wrong step, I could be slowing myself down. I could be deviating from course. How do I know that I'm on course? Okay, so those steps, I need to identify what time I need to apply to every task, because if I need to get to a certain destination at a certain time, I need to know how much time I have for each step along the way. What about resources? People that are going to work with me. Who am I going to consult? Who am I going to get information from? Who am I going to give information to? Who am I going to get anything from? Who's going to do certain tasks or subtasks on my behalf on my way to that solution? What equipment? What money? Financial resources? What information would I need? It's important to pull everything together. That's why I say it's always good to use a project management mindset when trying to solve a problem. So you're working with a task list, and all the items and the task list are all geared towards a certain direction. So implementing, evaluating, and adapting as you move in this direction, you take action. Some of us have plans that have been ahead. We've not even started, taking any step towards it. Whatever it is, you need to start, take an action. Okay, and as you act, you continue to evaluate and tell yourself if this really me in the right direction. Okay, I've seen people go into university to study one course. After a semester or two, they decide that that's not going to be it, right? That's not going to be it because they've done, continuous evaluation, and they say that, oh, that action is, it's the wrong action, I need to change it. And sometimes it's the right action, you're on the right path, but you realize you need to add a few more, a few online courses, for example, and they're going to need to do some training here and there so that you can acquire some certifications, right? So those are adjustments. You are still on the right path, but you're making an adjustment because you are doing evaluations, because you realize that if you just go on and graduate, you may end up, in the job market looking for work forever, like so many people who are graduating. So you want to take any actions to put you in the destination that you hope to, right? And then, once you have acted, you've gotten things going, you're doing this evaluation, you need to be able to talk about it. Okay, so if it's a one-person problem, you have an advisor, you have a boss, you have family. If it's a team problem, you also have people that you need to meet with to talk about where you are, how far you've come, what left to be done, and so on and so forth. And you set up a meeting to have these discussions to move you forward. All right, and if you do succeed, you've arrived at your goal, you solved your problem, you've taken advantage of the opportunity, you are heading for, take time to recognize that success has happened. Celebrate everyone who played a role. Sometimes, we slow down our own progress in life when we don't acknowledge those who helped us get to the first step on the ladder, right? So when we don't acknowledge those who helped us get to the first step on the ladder, right? So when we are moving up the next level, we probably need those same people. We probably don't need them again. We probably need another group of people. But because of how we have taken our prior little successes, come accepting, we end up not having the right kind of support to move forward. As if it's supposed to be a big deal, but that's just how life is. You make one success, you make one achievement, you recognize it, you learn from it, you acknowledge those who helped you to get there, and then you make the next step, you get, another round of support. You stay focused because you learn from how you acquired first success. And sometimes you even fail along the path, and then you have to come back and take stock of, what caused the failure, what else you can do to adjust and move on. So that's the critical part. You have to have certain lessons you are learning on your path to progress. Many people have been in jobs 5 years, 10 years. They're not really growing. They're just growing marginally. Some are not even growing at all. They're not even having a salary rate that matches with inflation. So they are moving backwards, right? And they have not seen it as a problem. So they're not even where we are right now, talking about this problem solving. But the moment they see it as a problem, and they can analyze it and say, okay, so how can I make progress in my life? How can I move up in my career? Then they begin to look at, the paths that have led them to where they are. Okay. And then once they're able to look at the path that have led them to where they are, they are now able to create a new plan, a different plan for how the future will be. Because if you are not able to analyze, the path that brought you to where you are right now, you cannot honestly be thinking about how to make progress in the future, right? So you need to, learn lessons, apply it to future problems, and then have more success in your life, your career, and everything they answer. So that's our launch hour lesson for today. And this wraps up the creative problem solving topic. I hope you learned one or two things from this. Look forward to being on our free training tomorrow and Friday. Have the links be dropped. We also have a Teams link for the free training so that they can copy the link and tomorrow join virtually. For those of you who want to come into the center, please come in on time. Come in on time because we start at 9 o'clock, and we usually will have the place filled up and close by 9 a.m. when we start. Okay, so please try and don't come at any time you like during the day, because we want to have that full engagement with you as we do that free training tomorrow. Okay, so let's hear your questions. Okay. Do we have questions on any of our platforms? If you solved problems recently using any of these techniques discussed, you can also share your experiences. We'll engage further in the facility management training WhatsApp platform. So if you're not yet on that platform and you're listening now, please join the platform. Can someone please drop the link for joining the WhatsApp platform so that all those who are not yet there should be able to join now? and then we can continue the conversation there. All the links I've talked about should be dropped, as well as the conversations on all our social media platforms. So far, I've seen the social media platforms links. I've not seen the WhatsApp. Thank you for dropping the free training website link as well. Yet to see the WhatsApp, the training WhatsApp group join link on the chat here. Is somebody listening to me? Okay. All right, thank you. Send it now. So that's the last link you're seeing there is the one for joining the WhatsApp group. Join it, and you can take up conversations there. If you have questions, you can take up conversations there. If you have questions, please drop it there. If you have experiences to share, please drop it there, and we'll keep this going. Till tomorrow, have a good day. Bye-bye.